technically the session said 2:20 to 3:10. Of course, that little thing outside said 3 o'clock to 3:50, but I don't plan on being here until 3:50, so hopefully you guys don't want to stay that long. My name is Jason Lampe. I am a teacher here in Des Moines. I teach what we call design technology at Meredith Middle School, just over there by Merle Hay Mall. Design tech is kind of a different spin on what you would call business ed. So what used to be keyboarding and computer apps to us is a complete design curriculum. I'll get into that a little bit more, but because we're an IB World school, they don't have business class. They have design, visual arts, performing arts, things like that. So I fall under the design curriculum there. So it's kind of a fun little tiptoe between Des Moines curriculum, IB curriculum, and then really what we should be doing with our kids anyway. So I always like to start with a little bit about me, because if I want you to pay attention and care about what I'm talking about, I feel like you've got to know a little bit about me, the person, instead of just some dude that you walked into probably accidentally. So as you can see, I'm in my 10th year of education right now. I've kind of bounced around. Started here at Hoover High School here in Des Moines. Then I went to Omaha for 2.5 years and taught in the Millard public school system. And then back here in Des Moines at the elementary level, I was at Capitol View Elementary, just about 1.5 miles away from here. Taught K through 5 there, and then came back to Meredith where I was a special ed teacher. And for a majority of my career, I've always been in special ed. This is actually just my 4th year of not being in special ed. So did technology at the elementary level, and now I'm back in technology. This is my 2nd year in my current position here at Meredith in the design tech class. Me personally, there are 3 things that run my entire world. Well, I guess 3 people. This is my family, this is me, these are my kids, my wife, my everything, really. My wife Emma, my daughter Harper, and my son Hayden. Those are actually old pictures. I was just looking at them. I should probably update that. Those are over a year old, but they're the same, just add a year. Other than my family, my 2 biggest loves on this earth are my Iowa Hawkeyes. I don't want to talk about this season. And the Atlanta Braves. Again, don't want to talk about that particular season. However, things are looking much better for, well, maybe my family, but the rest of them, we're going to be in a bit of trouble. But one thing I want to talk to you guys about is, yes, this session is called Failing Forward, and I don't know how to describe it. And to be honest, when I submitted my proposal, so if you read that piece, it's not the best description of what I'm going to do. But really, I just kind of want to share my journey and the way that my philosophy as an educator has changed and adapted over the last couple of years of trying to meet the needs of the 21st century learner instead of what we've always done and what has rapidly become the norm. So again, like I said, for you to understand me and to understand where I'm coming from, I'm also going to tell you a little bit about the students that I see on a daily basis. So, at Meredith Middle School, located in Northwest Des Moines, we have over 750 students. I see half of them every semester. So the way that I have, we have an A and B day. I have 181 students on A days over 6 class periods, and I have 186 students on B days over 6 class periods. So 12 classes, about 31 kids in each class. I am one-to-one because it's a business ed class. We have the laptops and we have that. Meredith is one of the most diverse schools that I challenge you to find anywhere in the state of Iowa, let alone the Midwest. I noticed Postville, so you know what I'm talking about, because I know Postville is extremely diverse as well. We took one trip to Postville when I was in college, and it just blew my mind. Being a kid coming from a really small town in north central Iowa, never seeing that kind of diversity was really cool. But when I come to Meredith, you're looking at 200 plus ELL kids. We've also become an ELC, which is the Emergent ELC, English Language Learners Program. So kids literally fresh off the boat, fresh off the plane, however they got to Iowa, one of their first stops is going to be to Meredith Middle School, where they really immerse you into our culture, our language, things like that. And so we have a very large population of these kids that spend time in that program, and then when they're okay and ready to leave my program, they come right into my class, as well as the rest of our applied core classes. We don't have specials, we don't have wheels, we have applied core, which are specials and wheel classes, just with a much fancier name to them. We meet for 40 minutes every other day, one semester a year. We have well over 100 special ed students in that school. So when you look at that population as a whole, what I didn't say is we're going to have a very large Burmese refugee population. We have a large African population. We have a large Eastern European population. Very, very large Latino population. African American. I think last time we checked this year we are at 36% non-Bosnian white. And then everything else just kind of filters and takes its own little chunks. So it becomes this amazing mesh of cultures and opinions and attitudes, and it's beautiful when it works right, but it's a nightmare when they clash, and so that's always a little bit interesting. What we're working with, 49% of our kids are reading proficient. Puts us at 8 out of 10 middle schools in the district. Now, I will also argue a lot of that comes from the fact that we have to test everybody in the building, including those that have been in the country for less than 2 years. So, really tough to ask a kid to read at an 8th grade level on an Iowa assessment that's been in the country for 2 years. But we do it anyway. We do the best that we can, and we've actually seen some incredible growth over the last 3-4 years. I would challenge, and I would put up my numbers at Meredith Middle School against any other middle school in this state, maybe even the Midwest, as far as the growth that we've made both academically and behaviorally. Our behavior referrals have cut almost 80% over the last 3 years. So at one point we were around the 1,200 level 2 referrals or above, and now we're right around the 300 level per year. So we're right where we need to be. We do a lot of work looking at the numbers. 7% of our population makes up 95% of our referrals. So doing a lot more targeted interventions with those kids. And ultimately, when they get to my design tech lab, it's 1-to-1, and I get everybody. Nobody misses my class. One semester, 45 days, 40 minutes, they're with me. Except when I'm here with you guys, but they're still there doing whatever it is they're supposed to be doing. Hopefully. That's a different story for a different day. This program here is called OneNote. When I saw George's presentation yesterday at 9 o'clock, started looking at what I was going to present and instantly felt inadequate. So I apologize ahead of time. Also, if you haven't noticed, I move and fidget and I struggle in afflictedness, but whatever. We're going to keep going. I also have a tendency to go this way and that way. Do the best you can. I don't provide roadmaps, so just hang on. It'll be a fun ride. Also, if at any time I talk too fast or you're confused about something or just something pops in your head, please raise a hand. Let me know. I'll see what I can do. So that's kind of my world on a whole. So when I look at failing forward, this started for me when I first got into education about 10 years ago, 2006, obviously. I'm a young guy-ish, younger-ish. We're getting older, I feel, whatever. But one of the things that struck me the most is I look back at my experiences, and I grew up in Forest City, Iowa, and I loved my school experience. And the things that stick out are the projects and the experiments and the fun things that we did. And I can't remember the single math problems that I did in 3rd grade, but I always remember this inventor project where we were given 2 paper clips and a clothespin. And you had to go home and you had to invent a machine. And we came back, and the next day there were 28 kids with all these different machines, and they all did the variety of different things, and we all got really excited. It wasn't about numbers. It wasn't about bubbling in test scores. It was about what could we come up with, what could we develop, and who cares if it didn't work? We still had fun doing it. And then I got into education, and everything became this. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to do this. We need to follow this. Here's the curriculum. Here's the SRG. Here's the... Well, in Des Moines right now, for me, in my world, here's IB, here's Marzano, here's SRG, here's your Common Core, here's your CPE standards, here's all this stuff. And so I missed the days where I felt like I could just teach. I thought that's why I got into it. We're going to go have fun, and we're going to learn, we're going to experiment, and we're going to blow stuff up. I mean, I did. Not in school, that was weird. But that's what I wanted. That's what I thought I was going to get into. And so I really started to see that kids, and it feels like every year I go through as an educator, they become less and less able to push through failure. Okay? It's like they try one thing, I don't get it. There's no more try this, try that. No more see what happens. It's I hit a roadblock, or instantly it's already too hard, I can't do anything about it. And so I started looking at 2 big words, resiliency and grit. And to me they mean the same thing, But when I saw this picture, I was like, oh, that's perfectly. That's me almost every day I come home from school. Because I run into these walls and these barriers all the time because kids just want to quit and they don't want to do and create like I thought we should. Because even when I give them those chances, it's too hard. It doesn't make sense. And so it drove me nuts as an educator. And at first I thought, for the first couple of years, it's just the way it's going to be. I should probably conform and just go to town. And then something very, very interesting happened to me, which happens to, I think, a lot of teachers. I became a father. And this is my little girl. This is, she's my baby girl. And there's no better way to put it. These are both within the last month, because I thought I needed newer pictures. Just started preschool. She got to school and she was so excited. And this is going to bring me to tears because I feel this passionately about it. But everything was at her fingertips. She came running home. Dad, we played with this, and we got to do this, and Miss Brandy let me feed the fish, and we gotta go outside, and we saw bugs, and it was like this amazing thing that when students were excited to be in school, and when she came home, she hated it. And we live right next to an elementary school where she wants to go to kindergarten. So she thought one day of preschool means tomorrow I'm going to go to kindergarten, and then eventually I'm going to be in your class, right, Daddy? Slow down, baby. It's, that's her world right now. And I look at my 6th, 7th, and 8th graders now, and this doesn't exist. That idea that I can learn and do and grow and do anything. This little 32-pound, blonde-haired girl, I can't do that. And I have a quick video here, and I think, where did we lose it? Where did it all go wrong? Because every student you have, or everybody in here, started right there. And I try to explain this to students with them. Hey, I saw you walk into class. Fantastic. You got it, right? Well, yeah. Oh, so you never fell down? Well, no, I did. Oh, but somehow you did it, right? What happened? Well, I got back up and I tried it again. Uh-huh. Oh, so the first time, fell once. No, I fell down like a lot, I'm sure. Okay, so how is that any different? Okay, and what I think is, and something clicked when a conversation like that with a student, that when I make learning in my classroom as necessary as learning how to walk, they'll do whatever they have to do to learn. And so that kind of changed my mindset. And so when I look at my daughter and I look at my son, and I just think, if they had to sit in my classroom, would they want to be there? And would I be pushing them? And would they have that same passion that they brought? And so my whole philosophy with my class is, when you come in, you're going to struggle. You're going to be uncomfortable. But you're also going to create. And you're going to see the things that you're doing. You're going to physically be able to see and touch your learning. Well, when you touch a computer, I guess that's kind of weird. But, I mean, whatever it might be, that's how it is. And before I go any further, I gotta talk about this book, because this book really, really influenced on the way that I started kind of looking at things. I think I have it in here somewhere, but I just want to, screw it, it doesn't matter. This book by Andrew K. Miller through ASCD, it's called Freedom to Fail. It's like 36 pages. You could read it in a plan period. Like, it's super easy read, but it has shaken me like profoundly to the core of how I teach, because he talks about a couple things, and I realized very quickly these are things that I already do in class, but how do I build upon those? And so one of the first things that you read about is the word fail being an acronym for first attempt in learning. And so in my class, I have this posted everywhere. It's on ceiling tiles, it's on windows, it's on walls, it's posters. And in my class, we have a saying, we're going to fail it till we nail it. Because, yes, you could sit there and talk about how we're going to learn through failure, but unless you bring that resiliency and grit part back into it and teach them and boost their confidence back up, it doesn't matter. They'll fail and fail and fail, but it doesn't matter. So we fail it till we nail it, and that's not necessarily the 9th attempt in learning, but till we get it, till we understand it. And to do that, we do some very important things in my class. First and foremost, we build a culture. And like I said, when you come into my classroom every single day, you're going to be uncomfortable. Every day you're going to create. But we've got to set that expectation from day one. Kids are gotta know. It's not going to be an easy class. I don't care if you're the highest achieving kid in my class or the lowest. You're still going to go through some of these things. You're going to feel that failure. You're going to feel that uncomfortable, whatever. Ignore my emails. I forgot to turn those off. Okay? And to do that, relationship and trust. Now, I by no means am going to stand up here and say I'm the best teacher in the world, because I know I have my faults and my strengths and weaknesses. But I will tell you, and I can stand here in front of every single person and tell you that relationship building is my number one attribute. I have 360 kids this semester alone. I have had a class for 16 days for each. I've seen them 16 times. I'm still at about 85% of the names. But even if I can't match a name to a face, which is, this doesn't seem like it makes sense, but you got to remember they're looking at computers for most of my class. I still know something about every single one of my students right now. What their favorite baseball team was, favorite soccer. Soccer's huge, so that one's pretty easy. I can just say Real Madrid and I got half of them. But, so Real or Barcelona, that's pretty much all they know. So I got that. But what we do is I use this program, OneNote, and if you don't know it, it's fantastic. It has been amazing since I've adapted it. But we do warm-ups every single day. And I'll ask them a simple question about what's going on in class. But then I also do would you rathers every single day. So today's would you rather while I was gone was, would you rather make $90,000 a year doing a very boring job that you hate, or would you rather make $45,000 doing something you love? That's an example of what we did. We did $50,000 legally versus $100,000 illegally. What would you do? I know that half of my kids would take the $150,000 because it's a bigger number. They don't care if they get caught. But we do that, and those things tell me a lot about my students. And with OneNote, I can read through their answers in literally less than 2 minutes. It's just click, 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 and I can go right down the line. And so I know something about these kids within minutes every single day. And then we have conversations. And it doesn't matter what it's about, we're going to do what's on your mind. So if we get carried away with the OneNote, technology can win. Last week we had an instance where my 8th grade class had a bunch of questions about the election. And I don't know what they're doing in civics class right now, but in my opinion, being a government teacher by trade, it wasn't enough. So we spent an entire 40-minute class period just talking about the candidates. Why? Because it's what needed to happen. And I had built that relationship with kids to understand that if something is important enough that you want to bring it up, we're going to talk about it. There's no such thing as a curriculum emergency. Like, it'll wait. But what that kid's thinking and what they say, and you got to remember, with the diverse population that we have, it's not just Hillary versus Trump. It's genuine fear as to what's going to happen. And to look at a 13-year-old and tell them, don't worry, your family's not going anywhere. And I know that's a token, like legit, like you hear that, it's, oh yeah, teachers say that, kids ask that. But it happens. And it happens a lot in my school. These kids are really concerned, and so, whatever. But they know because we built that relationship, and they trust, I hope, they trust me, and I certainly trust them, that we can do that. We can have that. But without that relationship, that doesn't matter. They don't listen to anything I say. Which is also why I have the fewest behavior referrals in the entire school. My kids are engaged, and we have that relationship. Now, does that mean I don't have issues? Absolutely, we have issues. Trust me, we have issues. But it's how I deal with them, and how I deal with them with respect, and I don't need to write kids up. I don't need to send them out of my class because they don't want to leave. Most of the time. Okay, sometimes they do. Also, in my class, we really try to make it that every student has a voice and a choice in their own learning. And these are topics that are in this book, but I also will expand on them. But when kids feel like they actually have a voice in where they're going and what they're learning, then they care. Then they own it. And it doesn't matter what you're teaching, they'll have a choice. Or they feel like they have a voice. Sorry. I get 8 things. I'm already thinking about the next slide. Sometimes it all comes out at once. So like one of the projects that we're going to do here at the end of the semester is my whole 8th grade class is going to go into a you choose your own adventure type. So I've got 8 to 10 mini lessons that they're going to choose from. Their expectation is you're going to do 2 or 3, and you're going to go. I've got them built. All of my instruction is on the OneNote. I'll show you what one of my classes looks like. I should pick the better one. So this is an example of like what my kids did today. Even when I'm not here, or I'm not physically in class, my kids are still learning just like they would if I'm not here. Because of the way that I can set things up with my OneNote. You can see the would you rather. This is dealing with our current learning target, using calipers to measure things, daily agenda, and then everything that I do in class, every project, every direct instruction, I record and I embed on that sheet. So every student has everything that I've ever taught all semester at their fingertips at any time. And so I don't have to stand at the front every single day for 20 or 30 minutes. And when I have the abilities that I have, the wide range in my classroom, this is huge because I can have kids, and I have 30 kids in my class, and kids got it, they know it, but I might be on the other side, and one kid over here has no clue. Well, they could wait for me, but in my class, we don't believe in wasting time. So go to the video, see what you can find. You literally just heard me say it, maybe you just need a quick refresher. They can watch it 1,000 times, they could watch it one time, or they could watch it no times. The other nice thing about having this stuff available to them is when I talk about my ELL population, my Burmese kids, my refugees, very, very proud individuals. They refuse to show weakness of any kind, especially to American students. So raising your hand, not an option. They will sit content quietly and stare at their computer screen for 3 days if you let them. They will not raise their hand. But now they know they can get the extra help that they need to understand things without ever having to raise their hand. So you're giving them a choice in their own learning. You could sit there, do nothing, or you can fill in the blanks without having to embarrass yourself. But you proceed. Okay? So those are some things that are really cool that this program allows me to do. But eventually what we'll have is every bit of learning, all the instruction, all the directions, and these 8 to 10 different mini units are going to be available to you on the OneNote. You just pick and choose what you have. Do the things that interest you. We have a program called Inventor, which is a 3D modeling program, which kids are already doing phenomenal things. And this program will literally let you do anything you can think of if you're willing to put in the time. It's a very difficult program. I know roughly 5 to 10% of it, if that. So a lot of times when they ask us, how can I do this? I don't know. Just figure it out together. And so you're learning together with your students. That's what I try to do anyway. I'm going to go back because that's part of it. I wanted to open up Inventor and actually show it to you, but we have a license for the district, and it doesn't open here. This is my favorite thing to do in class. I love to fail, and I love to fail miserably in front of my students. So I would try to do silly, stupid things, whether it's like juggling 4 things or trying to code. I teach coding. We do a lot of coding in my class. We do a lot of robotics. I really, really struggle with it. I had a co-teacher last year. He was just here a second ago. He took care of all that stuff. I played the game of, I don't know, where'd you go wrong? I don't know. What did you try? Okay, you should try something else. And they know immediately that you don't know what you're doing. No, but let's figure it out, And so when you do that, and they see that you're not this infallible thing, like, oh, it's okay for me to try. He does it all the time. Like, I'm a spectacular failure. And I own it, and I love it, and kids enjoy seeing it. Because when you fail with them, you create an environment where it feels okay to fail. Think about like the pressures of No Child Left Behind, where you better do really well on this Iowa assessment, or I don't know what's going to happen. The education gods will rain down upon you, or whatever it is. But you can't do this. You have to do this, and you have to be good here, and you have to do that. But in my room, hey, I can fail, and I can mess up all the time. Okay? And part of that is you can let them fail, but unless you have those lessons in resiliency and building them back up, hey, yeah, but you did this part right. You did this, and this, and this, and the rest wrong, but at least you put your name on it. That's a win. Okay? Everything, there's a win in everything. Nothing's a complete failure. And so when kids can start and step back and look and say, oh, well, at least I did that part right. Great. Now let's build on that. Where do we go from here? Okay? And I give them a really cool tool that I'll talk to you about here in just 1 second. So this book, really good, really important. I highly recommend it. I think it's like $12, $9 on Amazon.
$5.38 on Kindle.
$5.38
On a Kindle.
on a Kindle. Yeah. Oh man. I tweeted with him before, and I've actually emailed the guy and said, hey, I'm completely ripping you off, and I have this conference I'm doing. Is this cool? He never got back to me, so I'm assuming it's okay. But if you tweet him, he will respond to you. But I emailed him from his website, which probably was the problem. But I'm citing him. It's good, right? So in my class, like I talked a little bit about the philosophy, and this is kind of repeating. Positive relationships every single day, every student sitting in your doorway. Hi, how you doing? Hey, what's going on? What'd you think of that game last night? Hey, we got a lot of girls that play volleyball. Our volleyball team is not very good, but we're getting better. We're getting much better. I'm the freshman volleyball coach, so I hope they're getting much better. So we're working on that, but that's happening every day, every student. Okay? I don't care if it's the one student that just drives me insane. We're going to find something. I'm going to go out of my way as much as I can to try to make a positive impact on their life at least. High expectations. And I bring that up and I say, see below, because I want to show you something that this is the current scale for 7th grade tech operations here in Des Moines. And if you read that, develop and demonstrate problem-solving skills to determine the most optimal place to save a file.
Really?
Can you save a file? That is the level 3 proficient task.
Is this 1985?
I'm not going to say anything bad about my...
Wow.
Anyway, so like, my students have gotten to the point where I put the scale up. We talk about it, and they laugh at it. This is Lampe, we did this like first week of last year in 6th grade. You're right, we did. So why do I have to do it again? And we got it. Like, I have kids in my class that literally think we're done with the entire semester because we can do everything. So then it becomes that conversation that, yes, this might be what your peers are doing around the city. That's not what we're going to do. Because we're going to push. And we have those conversations, and our kids know it. They know when they walk in they're going to do more than any other middle school in the city of Des Moines. And it's going to be harder, and it's going to be tough, but by God, we're going to do it. We're going to be the best, and we're going to get further than everybody. It's just how it is. And so what we do is we develop new scales. Okay, our Project Lead the Way scales with our CAD stuff, all new, doesn't exist anywhere in the district. Our coding and robotics skills look completely different than that, because again, theirs is, if you can make the robot go there and back, level 3. My level 4 final for robotics is arguably, and I'll say this probably without, it's not even arguably, it's the hardest level 4 in the entire district of Des Moines for middle school level. Last year we had about 600 kids try it. We had 4 people get a level 4. And those are kids that came in after school, before school, probably put in 12, 15 hours outside of school. And they barely got it. Okay? Because my robotics final is really difficult. And to tell you how difficult it is, I can't do it. And they know that, but they laugh. Anyway, so high expectations. Hey, if Adam wasn't here, and I wish he was here for a second because he'd just be laughing in the background. Because it took him 2 weeks to do. Okay? But again, I'm going to set that high expectation. I'm crazy in the sense that if I have high expectations for students, they might just meet them. It's crazy. You know, who thought, right? Always making it a comfortable environment, encouraging to take risks. Hopefully every kid in my class could walk in here and tell you that they're not afraid to try. Now, that's not true. Every kid still struggles with it, but we certainly work hard to make it an environment where every kid they want to try. They know they might fail, but why not? Let's take a risk, see what happens. We will learn together, obviously, because I have to, I need to. And Control Z is our best friend. That's not even really a philosophy, it's just something every kid should know, period. Like, my daughter can unlock my iPhone, no matter how many times I reset the password. I don't know how she does it. But even she knows Control Z on my computer. And she knows how to type her name and Control Z. I don't know how she just does it. It's awesome. So this is what kind of helps me along in my journey here. The IB International Baccalaureate Design Cycle. And so I have a little quote here. You can't raise your expectations in students or people without raising your level of support. So I could never do any of this if I sat behind my desk. And I just said, okay guys, let's go. Do whatever. That wouldn't happen. So if you expect things and you really want kids to learn through failure, expect to get your hands dirty. Okay? And what really helps me is, this is the overarching curriculum for IB World Schools at our level. It's called the design cycle. So I give every student, and we go over this quite a bit, a way to solve problems. Okay? A systematic way to solve every problem. And I do this, and I teach this, and I love it. It's my favorite lesson to teach. I use tying my shoe. Okay? So, I'm not going to patronize you guys by untying my shoe here. But we could, alright, let's do it. Alright, so, Design Cycle 101. You are all getting an IB lesson, so naturally you're all smarter, better people for this. Okay? Trust me, that's what they tell us. So, and you can't see it, but I have my shoe untied. So I'm walking around. Step 1 of the design cycle, we have to identify the problem. So obviously, what is the problem right here?
Your shoe's untied.
Shoes untied. Okay, don't be afraid. This is audience participation. Speak up, it's okay. So, my shoe's untied. Fantastic. Okay, identified the problem. On top of that, is it a problem worth solving? Our time and our money and our energy is finite. Is it worth solving my problem?
Yes.
Absolutely, because I could
Unless
roll an
you're catching a
ankle. What's that?
Unless you're trying to catch a bus.
Unless I'm trying, well, even then, then I could slip and fall, and I could hit my head, and then I'm going to miss the bus anyway. So, got to do it. So, how do we do it? Shoes untied, how do I fix it? Okay? It didn't work out. How do I tie it? Okay, we can't just say what we're going to do to fix it. We need to be very specific in how we're going to solve it. So what can we do? What kind of knots? Bunny ears. Good job. All right. Wonderful. We can do the bunny ears. Loop and swoop. Got it? We could also just tie random knots and hope that that's good. That would work. What else could I do besides tying a knot?
You could take the laces out.
I could just take my laces out. Okay, that gives us 3 ideas. What else?
Ask a friend.
We could ask a friend to do it for us. But what if they don't know how to tie a shoe? Well, but that's worth it. That's something. So we have...
YouTube knows how.
Oh, we can YouTube it. There we go. Yeah, so we got bunny knots, we got twisty knots, we got take them out, we got ask a friend, YouTube. What about duct tape? Duct tape's always a good one, so that's another one. We could light them on fire, and we wouldn't have to worry about it. Or my personal favorite, we could just do this. Problem solved. Right? By the way, I did that last week. Almost hit a student. Be careful when you're throwing your shoe across the room. So, disclaimer there. Okay, so now we've got 6 or 7 ideas. We got to pick one. Choose one, but how do we know which one's the best? Is that just, I really like my idea? That should be the best one, right? Not necessarily. So we come up when we have a talk about criteria and constraints. How do we know what's the best? Which one's going to last the longest? Well, loop and swoop seems to work. Well, duct tape would last pretty long too, wouldn't it? Yeah, but then I have to get it out of it. Yeah, okay. So you have that conversation. So let's try our loop and swoop, our typical knot. We do that. Okay, we do it. So we've gone through, we've identified the problem, we've come up with multiple solutions for that problem, and we did one. Ta-da! Okay, cool. Now, very important, did it work? Absolutely. And what happens here is when you get kids to walk through this, now they give the tools to answer anything. Where do you want to go to dinner? Use the design cycle. Do you need to go to the bathroom? Use the design cycle. It doesn't matter. This can solve every question of your life. And most kids and most people do this dozens of times a day. They just don't even realize it. And what's great about it is you can see there's all these different arrows here because you very well might go in different directions. So if we go all the way around and all of a sudden my shoe being tied didn't work. So where's it going to take me back to? Okay, what's that problem? My knot wasn't tied enough. So then what do? You should double knot it. Try it. Okay, did it work? Yes. Okay, so what we've done is not only created an environment where kids can fail and experiment, but we're also giving them the tools to solve their own problems. And when it comes to tech and tech ed or whatever you're doing, you can solve those problems with this or really most of the time Control Z, but you could solve it with that. Okay, what's the problem? I solved 99% of all coding errors with students by working through the design cycle. Where are you going wrong in your code? Okay, what's it doing wrong? Do you need to fix that spot? Yes. Okay, so what are some different things you could do there? Oh, you need a different function? No. You need an if and else statement? No. Do you need a repeat loop? Yeah. Okay, so what's that look like? Okay, now try it. Did it work? No. Okay, so where'd it go wrong this time? So you just go through that over and over and over again. And you get kids used to being able to do that. One, it drives them insane. It's awesome. My principal's daughter also babysits my kids, and she complains about it to this day, and she's not even in my school anymore. Okay? But her little sister likes to remind her, first attempt in learning. Okay? That's neither here nor there. So, you're giving kids the tools to solve their own problems. So, that's kind of just like, I don't have, it says there's one more slide, but it's not, and the rest of them don't matter. But, so that's kind of my spiel. Obviously, there's probably a lot of things wrong with it, but that's what I do, and that's how I believe. So, I think I have like 10 minutes. I mean, if you guys want to go home early, you're more than welcome to. But if you guys have questions or anything for me, I'm more than willing to take those.
Can you share this with us somewhere? It's OneNote, so I don't know.
Yeah. I'm sure. What I could probably do is, if nothing else, export it as a PDF, and you could look at that. OneNote's kind of tricky with that. If you don't have Microsoft, it's not always the funnest program in the world to do. But we could probably figure out a way to do that. Colin, you know how to do that?
PDF probably the best way.
What?
PDF.
PDF, probably the best way. So if you want, I can export this as a PDF and send it to you.
You
Definitely.
could just put it on the presenter notes.
Yeah, could do that. Is that, I don't know how to do that. I'll be honest, I really came unprepared for this. Literally didn't even know I had to pay for this until yesterday morning. So, it happens. It's been a rough year. Just trying to get, what happened is last year, having two people in the room, co-taught class, you're able to set that bar very high. And then he's now in 7th grade social studies, but the expectation is set. And so I've lost a lot of sleep over the first 6 weeks of the year because this is where I want to go. How do I get them there with half the support? And so we're going back and forth. But that's where I'm finding this stuff, when kids can answer their own questions and start to move on in their own journey. Like, it's that we're getting there, but it's still yeah. Yeah.
And maybe a question, because you're teaching in a middle school,
Mhm.
are you doing A, B, C, D grades?
No, we still do SRG. So that same Tech Ops scale that I showed you, that is its own standard in the grade book in Infinite Campus. So usually what has to happen is I kind of massage my assignments and what we do in class into those. So like coding becomes a digital citizenship grade. I have no idea how that fits, but it's where we put it. So, luckily for me, and this is something that I like to brag about, is I feel like I have arguably the greatest administrator in education today. He allows us to do some amazing things. He supports what we do. He supports our crazy ideas. And he thinks differently than anybody I've ever met. He's probably the smartest human being I know. But that's neither here nor there. But he lets us try. And he understands what we're doing. And as long as we can put it in the design cycle, which everything fits in the design cycle, we're money. So.
And sometimes, as you mentioned, we're very diverse to a third of Hispanic, a third Somali, and a third American.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I have to assess a grade, is my assessment too hard? Or if I've assisted and modified that kid, they come out with an A and this other kid has an A. Then you kind of struggle, well, what skills, or could I just say good job?
We've spent a lot of time with SRG looking at the difference between modifications and accommodations. So are you modifying or are you accommodating? And it's just this, you go back and forth. And me being from the special ed world, I set my expectations, and part of it's really nice is I can push my extending my higher achievers because I always have additional assignments for them. But at the same time, push come to shove, I could go ahead and just score them according to the Des Moines standards, and every kid would get a 3. But that's neither here nor there. But really what I've started to do is, I don't differentiate a lot of assignments. I just come over the top by giving you a limitless amount of direct instruction, basically, with those videos. And plus then it also opens me around to take smaller groups and really work with them. So I don't have the same problem, that same type of problem, so to speak.